All right, welcome into another edition of Catching Up with Tommy Mac podcast here on 1010XL's podcast platform, 1010XL.com, the 1010XL app. Of course, we are live on Facebook. We're also filming via 1010XL, and we'll get it out onto YouTube and all other types of platforms and social media channels. Brought to you by good friends at Team Tommy Mac. You see the Carbon Man flooring, LVP, Carbon Man's LVP, and all types of flooring at the highest quality and lowest prices. We'll talk about Team Tommy Mac a little bit later on. The Jaguars GM search continues. We'll talk about that. Positions of need. We'll get into that, and we'll look at the free agency class. It might be able to fit some of those positions or fill those those positions. And then, look, Friday we'll take a look at the draft a little bit harder, but this time it'll be about the free agents who maybe we can get. Plenty of cap space, but what will we do? Kind of moves do we make? And a better question, who's going to be available? Before we get into it all, it's our flag football star, Grammage.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, buddy?
Yes, sir. That's what they call me.
They call you touchdown maker.
I can't even go out in public anymore without people being like, "Man, you're the guy from flag football."
The flag football dude. Yeah,
that's right.
You had a good one this past weekend. You guys just started up, you said?
So we started 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
First week I was working. Second week was my fiance's birthday weekend. So this is my first week back.
Yeah. How you feeling? How's the body?
Good. I was a little sore Sunday morning that I woke up, but I've been back doing cardio and stuff in the gym and everything, and so it wasn't too bad, soreness wise.
Yeah.
I was telling Tommy
when you gotta react instinctively, it's different than running on a treadmill or jumping rope or any of that stuff.
The explosive movements, I feel it. The main place I feel it is in my hips.
Yeah.
Like after a long game of flag, like the next morning, if I'm like sitting down and then I go to get up, I feel it in the hip flexors a little bit for sure.
Yeah.
I got to stretch those out and get those moving. But
well, it's good to be young because when you're my age, you're definitely tearing something or pulling something, or stretching something just a little bit too much. That typically happens, but nonetheless, that's great. You get out there and play some ball. Whether that, you know what I wish they had down here, and I don't know if I would do it, but the beer league I know they have softball leagues down here, but the beer league up in Chicago, you'd play with the big fat softball, so you didn't need a glove, and it'd be hard underneath, but soft, like the leathering of it would be soft, so you could grab it, catch it, throw it. You didn't need a glove at all. It was a lot of fun, a lot of jam fingers like Grammage has. After playing a Saturday. I got one quick story. I'd gotten cut by the Saints. I was out late one night, and earlier that day, my oldest brother's friend, Steve, asked if I would come play in his flag football team. I said yes, not really thinking I was actually going to do it. And he calls me in the morning on Sunday, like, where you at? And I was like, still downtown. Hung over his kid. I mean, I was so not feeling good at all. I drive down there. Actually, I took the train down there, then got picked up, went to the practice field, and literally had to dry heave a couple times before I even got out there. And he's like, man, are you feeling all right? I'm like, no, I'm not feeling good at all. I wish I wasn't down here, but I'm down here now. He's like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. I'll just rush the passer. How about that? And that way I don't have to do too much. He's like, okay, cool. So I never rushed a passer before. Like, that was never my forte, but I figured what the hell, try to get some sacks or whatever. So first play, sack. Second play, sack. Third play, sack with a safety. And we get the ball, and I'm jogging off the field. He's like, seriously? That's how it's going to be? I'm like, I guess so, man. Puking and all. It was pretty funny, man. Just having those moments out there and competing.
So
not the puking part. That was never fun. I don't recommend that one at all.
So as a guy that's played in a lot of flag leagues, I feel for that QB. That sucks, first of all.
Yeah.
And secondly,
and there was a blocker. Like it was like 3 on. It was more than what you said you guys play, like 4. There was a couple blockers.
Yeah.
And then your weapons, and then the QB, and I think a running back, something like that. So you had to beat a blocker.
Interesting.
So
I was in a college league at Florida for intramurals, and it was kind of a similar deal. But you've probably told that story multiple times. I hope you know they've told that story
right.
a million times.
Yeah, right. Hey, remember the time?
Both your buddies and the guys you played against.
No doubt.
Like, we were having this great of course, the way the story will go now is that they were undefeated until they played you, probably.
Right,
we were having this great season. We were fantastic. And then this other team brings this freaking NFL player on the field, and
who's puking on the sideline. Not a good one. Not a good one. Well, the Jags GM search continues. The theatrics of it all, Here they put out this. Here's our top 5. Blah. We're gonna interview them. Wednesday? And when are they gonna have a decision? Friday? The combine's next week. Are we gonna have a decision?
Shad promised before the end of February.
Right, because you had to have it by the 28th, I think.
You pretty much, by the way, the league rules are you basically have to before.
Or you got to wait till after the draft.
Yes. So you have to.
Right. You definitely have. We definitely have to. Well, the 5 candidates remaining, look, they're interesting backgrounds. I was checking them out over the weekend and again this morning. I like the guys that have the titles of, assistant GM, director of scouting, pro personnel, those types of things. I don't know about director of scouting strategy like James Gladstone says. Or has, but being from the Rams, I'm sure Liam knows him personally and probably likes him. Ian Cunningham, he's under polls with the Bears. Not much you can do there. He came from Philly, which I'm sure he learned a lot. I'm sure he's got a lot of ideas on how to build a roster. Be interesting how it all shakes out. Of course, Ethan Waugh still in there. I don't know what to think, to be honest with you. It just seems so like it should be done already. And I'm not saying there's a problem because I don't know. I'm not saying that at all. But I just I would think that would have happened quicker. But whatever, get the right GM. By the way, none of these candidates have ever been a general manager. They're all going to be first timers. Think of all the first timers going into 2025. There's a lot. You got your head coach, if your GM, your GM, because one of them's going to get it. Your EVP and Tony Baselli, your OC, your DC. You got a lot of first-time people in really significant roles. Could work out great, and we hope it does, obviously. But that's a lot of inexperience going into 2025. And hey, man, hopefully they can get the players to respond. I heard Trevor on the Kay Adams show. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I heard clips and he just mentioned the players again. Hey, the play calling's part of it, but it's the players. It's executing plays, right? And we believe that. I've been saying that forever, and it's true. I like hearing it from them. I guess my question would be why didn't it happen under Doug? I wonder why the execution wasn't there under Doug, and maybe it was simply because there wasn't enough accountability. So hopefully that changes with Liam Cohen and company. Look, positions of need, I think, and not necessarily in this order, but kind of, although I'd probably move offensive guard up. I've got DT number 1. I know a lot of people are talking about T. Higgins, and I get it. They're talking about the kid out of Arizona, the wide receiver. Do you take him at 5? I do get it, and they're both of those are very tempting. There's no doubt about it. And look, if you could pull it off with T. Higgins, you would. It looks like they're going to probably tag him. They want to keep him, Jamar Chase, and Trey Hendrickson. They want to at least extend them or keep those guys. And I would too if I were them. Why wouldn't you? They're 3 of your best players. If you can do it, you do it. And I get having another weapon, but we have weapons. You've got a really great weapon. We do need another weapon, and I get that. But we got to build up front. And that's I got DT first, and I got OT second. Now, old guard, I could that's fine if it ended up being a guard. But I
just
think
offensive lineman bodies.
Yeah, yeah. But so my point is, you could fill them with free agents. You can fill them with the draft. You can do a combination. I got safety on the list. A cornerback. You need another corner. You do need another wide receiver. I got a defensive end. You need another rush. Guy off the bench that can come in third down situational. Dante Fowler Jr., come on. You know, he had 28 pressures for the Washington Redskins last year at age 30. Dan Quinn likes him. Khalil Mack's going to be available. Now, I don't know if you do that because of the money, but I got this nervous thing. I keep doing my glasses. Someone pointed me out. Those glasses are going to heaven. You clean them so much. It's so true. I don't know why I do that, but I do. But Khalil Mack's going to be available. Now, that might be too big of a price tag, but somebody like that could absolutely affect the defensive front. But I think you've got to go O-line, D-line. I think that's got to be the main thing this offseason. You have to make sure that Trevor is protected. It can't be a maybe, especially at left tackle. It can't be a maybe. It's got to be a definitive yes. Yes, he's going to protect his blind side. Yes, I don't have to worry about that side for the most part. On occasion, I might have to chip, but the majority of the time I do not. My left tackle's handling whoever's rushing against him. So I would. And maybe it's the kid from LSU if he's there, and somehow you didn't get the kid from Michigan, who I would take. Look, I want to see him at the combine. I know I already said that, but he's a bigger Braden Fisk, man. I mean, he's got a motor. He's quick like him, but he's bigger, like a lot bigger, like 30 pounds bigger, which is a lot, and can really move. It'll be interesting. You heard, I think Mel Kiper came out with a rumor about maybe the Jags being involved in some kind of trade with the Raiders to get up so they could get Sanders. It's all rumor. Who knows? You know, if you do drop back, can you get the guy you covet or one of the three that you covet? You got to imagine it's Graham, the DB from Michigan, and
Will Johnson.
And Campbell, right? It's got to be the two Wills, Will Campbell and Will Johnson, right? Will Johnson, the DB. You'd think it'd be one of those three, but you never know how that can do. We'll look at the rookies coming in, the draft coming in probably later in the week. Today I want to spend some time on free agents and who we would want to come in here and upgrade this team. Now, look, Trey Smith, yeah, but do you want to pay all that money for Trey Smith? Maybe you do. Or do you say, no, you know what? I don't need to go that high, but I do need somebody that's going to be an upgrade or just taking over my right guard position, as Brandon Sheriff is a free agent this offseason. But here's the thing: before we get into all these names, there's two questions about the team that I don't know if we have definitive answers for yet, Grammage. One is, what defense are we playing? Like, are we playing what's our base going to be? I know we're going to be a nickel a ton. I understand that. But what's our base going to be? Are we doing 4-3? Is that our start? Or are we going 3-4 like you're going to grab a nose? I don't think that's been – I don't know if it's even been asked. Maybe it has, but I haven't heard Anthony Campanile say which way he's going on that. Again, most of the time they're going to be in four-man fronts because of nickel and or dime. But I would like to know, because it does – I mean, think about this. What if they go 3-4? Well, now Josh Allen, does he go back to the weight of the outside linebacker that he was? You know what I mean? Where he had a phenomenal year. I mean, one of his best years as a Jag, right? Does Trayvon, same kind of deal? Do you put Trayvon down and get somebody else up? You know, really, or do you say 4-3?
Is Eric Armstead playing end again? After?
Yeah, well, Armstead would play big end in that 3-4.
It's a different thing, but still.
Well, at least you're still kind of inside and outside backers next to you. You know, you got a little more inside movement there. You would be, coming across the guards a lot because the tackle would have to kick out for the backer. Who
would be the end on the opposite side? Mason Smith at big end?
Maybe Mason Smith. I wouldn't put him at nose. He'd get too tall on you.
So, as we kind of talk through that, to me, their personnel is much better set up for a base 4-3.
I think so, especially if you get this Mason Graham kid who can be another inside presence with Armstead, with Mason Smith, and then him. And then we got our outside guys.
Because I think you just said what I was about to say. Assuming even if it's not Mason Graham, I have to believe in the first 3 to 4 rounds, they're going to draft someone they're excited about on the interior of the defensive line. If not, get somebody in free agency. They will address that position somehow.
Yep.
So you assume they're going to add someone to be excited about.
Yep.
You have Mason Smith, who I think is an ascending player in his second season.
I do too.
And Eric Armstead back at his natural position.
Yep.
That's 3 guys in a rotation to be really excited about that are all defensive tackles.
Right.
They are not nose tackles.
No, right.
And you pair that with the fact that I got 2 ends that have had their hand in the dirt for multiple years now. They're both used to it. That's a 4-3 defensive line, man.
Yeah, it's not a 3-4.
That's not a 3-4 D line.
You don't have the nose for the 3-4. And we've learned the hard way that you need a stud nose tackle to play a 3-4. Can't be just an okay guy that looks big, in the locker room. He's got to be a stout nose tackle that can handle double teams every single play all day long.
And I want to get your opinion on this as a former defensive front 7 player as well, because I always hear, it really doesn't matter if you're a base 4-3 or 3-4 because, like you said, you're in nickel or dime a lot. To me, it matters a lot because that's still normally how you're going to line up on first down, if not second down as well.
Yep.
That's still a lot of your base down snaps. Yep. And I think we can all agree, if we're watching the NFL the last, especially like year or two, the NFL is cyclical. And running the football more often is coming back around a little bit.
It's never going to go away because it's a way to control the clock. It's a way to control the game if you're successful at it.
And it's coming back even more.
Yeah.
You're telling me you play Philly, it's not important to have your base down defense, down pack?
Right.
What about the AFC South?
Yep.
I'm still in a division that has Jonathan Taylor in it and Anthony Richardson, who's a great running quarterback.
No doubt. And Mixon.
I still got to play Joe Mixon twice a year.
That's
like
right.
This nonsense that it doesn't matter. I think it's nonsense that it doesn't matter either way because you're going to be a nickel. Agree or disagree? What are your thoughts?
No, because look, I'd rather have a 4-3 because think about it. If you got a true 4-3, that's more like a 4 true down lineman in a nickel package or dime. It's the same thing.
Right.
A 3-4, it's different. You're switching the nose out, bringing in someone else, and you got to make sure they're capable of doing that job, which that hasn't been the case here in Jacksonville, right? So I think they're better suited as a 4-3. And to be honest with you, if I'm Josh Hines-Allen, I'm like, man, I just went from, 265 or whatever to 285. Now I got to go back, which he may like it better. He moves better at that lighter weight, but it'd be interesting how he comes back.
Well, Trayvon, too. I mean, I feel like Trayvon is now finally really starting to get the hang of that defensive end position, hand in the dirt, pass rusher.
Yeah, I think as an athlete, though, his weight, the way he carries, it's natural. You know what I mean? I think Josh struggled a little bit with the heavier weight.
Yeah.
As far as movement was concerned, I think he was good against, stout, gets to run and that type of thing. He had a good year. I'm not saying he didn't, but, I bet you with a little less weight, he'd have been a little bit more effective in his movements. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I think with Trayvon at 285 or whatever, he's naturally – you saw him take off with that football, score that touchdown. That's a naturally gifted 285
He's nimble too, man. His feet.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, he was running like a damn running back.
He was.
That was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. All right, so let's look at some free agents. So T. Higgins probably won't be there, but anybody would want T. What about T over Chris Godwin or Godwin over T. Higgins? Who would you go with? Godwin coming off an injury. It's so hard coming off an injury, man. I mean, look, it's like Christian Kirk. Yeah, I want him here. I absolutely want him here. I love Captain Kirk, but he's been hurt 2 years in a row. That's a hard one. That's a hard one to be like, okay, he's not going to get hurt this year.
Particularly when a clear and obvious replacement has shown himself to be a really good ball player.
Yeah.
In Parker Washington.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why you draft and develop a guy like him. And by the way, Parker year 1 to year 2 was really good.
Really, really good.
So year 2 to year 3, if he gets that same kind of jump, he might be ready to take over that position.
I think a really important puzzle piece to a lot of those conversations, Tommy, that when I say we meaning media, not just you and me, may not always factor in enough when we talk about, do you keep this guy, move on?
Right.
If you move on, what's there to replace him?
Right.
I think with Christian Kirk, there's a clear and obvious
I
cheaper,
agree.
younger replacement
I
that
agree.
has not been as injured.
Right.
I think if you talk about some of these other guys, you may leave a bigger void. So I think that should play a big factor in how you allocate those dollars in the salary cap.
Well, and look, you're not going to do anything with Gabe. You're going to give him another year because it would just be a waste of
You
money.
contractually have to.
Yeah. You should, I guess. I mean, you got plenty of cap space to maybe eat that a little bit, but he's definitely got it. Man, he better show up this camp, and they better hold his feet to the fire if he doesn't. That was a big disappointment last year. I didn't think Gabe Davis was going to be a number one, but I thought he'd be a great number two, someone that would be scoring touchdowns and making the tough catches, and he made a few, but just not enough. And then I do think you can more easily move on from Captain Kirk than Gabe Davis at this time, and I agree with Grammage here. Now, if Godwin comes into play, which from Tampa. By the way, congrats to John Wolford getting signed. Very cool. And a former rugby player, wide receiver. Sorry, I don't have his name in front of me, but he got signed as well. But John Wolford back and reunited with Liam Cohen. Pretty cool. Probably with the Rams, I would imagine, right? Because John was out there and then Tampa Bay last year. So
and he's back home.
Good for him, back home. He's a smart guy. Him and his brother, Bobby went to BC, but him and his brother used to work out at Meridian Fitness way back in the day. And they were studs as high school kids. I remember John, I think, was a freshman, and Bobby was a senior, something like that. And they were both, physically very, very athletic.
The pride of Bishop Kenny.
Athletically gifted, yeah. Absolutely, and trained under the late and great Matt Thornton. I watched him develop many, many kids. So if Godwin comes in, that's an interesting one. What do you do there? That would give Trevor plenty of weaponry. And I think he's got enough now. I do. Now, granted, you still got to figure out what we just talked about with Christian and Gabe, but I think he's got enough weapons. I think we're going to see even more exciting tight end play because you saw that in Tampa. And I think we've got the players for that. Ingram is still a matchup problem. And Strange, to me, is up and coming. I really like him, so if we could add that. But I'm looking more for me. Look, I want a left tackle that, and I know there's a guy out there, and I've just read up on him recently, but he comes from the Rams, Alaric Jackson, left tackle, big-time stud player. I think Liam probably remembers him. It all depends on money, right? So I'm not throwing – it's like with Trey Smith. Are you going to sit there and be like, I saw somewhere it's going to be 5 years, 105, 110 million, in money for a right guard. Would you do that, or would you take, I don't know, the guy Will Freeze out of Indianapolis, who's a really solid guard, probably a lot less? Would you go that route? But then again, here's my second question. What kind of run blocking scheme are we running? You know what I mean? Are we running
I believe we're running a gap scheme.
The gap, right. So
where you
it's not the zone, right, where you're moving guys by movement. Right, zone. You're trying to get your defensive lineman to run sideways, right? So they have to make a cutback, and they never can because you're either in the way. It's not grabbing your guy and moving him so your back can fit right under, right behind you. So do they change both guards, or can? I don't know. I think they got to go younger with Brandon. I hate saying it because I think he's a tough dude. And I know he's had a great career. And if he called it a day, he'd still have a great career. And if I was him, I'd hang on if my body was good enough and held up enough. But I think they got to go younger there. You got Ezra Cleveland on somewhat of a new deal. Not a huge, market value deal, but or it is a good value deal, but not one that broke the bank. But are you going to change? If you bring in like a Mekhi Becton, who I know, look, he did great as a guard for Philly, and maybe that continues. He didn't do very well as a tackle for the Jets for 4 years, but maybe he turned it around. You just hope it's not a one-hit wonder looking for that big check. Maybe you take that risk, and bring in a guy like that. I'm sure he's going to have somewhat of a payday. So you can – look, I named Trey Smith. I don't think we'll go for him, but whatever. If we did, that'd be great. If you want to fit him in, I'm all for that. Mekhi Becton, Allard Jackson. There's another tackle I thought I had in. Oh, Ronnie Stanley from the Ravens. He could be had. I don't know. I don't know. I think if I go tackle, it's got to be a young tackle, right? Coming off his first contract. Or it's a draft pick, you know. I mean, there's some defensive tackles, Graham. It's one from the Cowboys, one from the Lions. It could be interesting based on what their market value is going to be. Can you fill that void through free agency and not take Mason Graham at number 5, but take another DT later in the draft? You know, they say defensive tackle is pretty strong in the draft this year. You know, or do you go the other way? No, we want the young kid. I read somewhere, now granted, it's just an opinion, but when I see perennial all-pro for Mason Graham, I'm like, man, that's, even if he's somewhat true, so maybe not perennial, but an all-pro, you'd take it in a heartbeat, wouldn't you? I mean, to have a guy like that solidify your D-line along with Trayvon, along with Josh Hines-Allen, along with Eric or Mason or whoever, you know, and just done. Like, done. Like, you don't have to. You still got to worry, right? But with other players, but that position's locked and loaded, and we don't got to. It's like, you know, like when you get a Jeffrey Simmons, when you get an Aaron Donald, when you get a whatever, Albert Hainsworth, whoever, when you get a Jalen Carter, you know, you just don't got to worry about that position. Could he be that kind of guy? You know, or do we go a different route and take a chance on one of these free agents that have been productive for a couple years? You know, that's what they're going to have to go through and how they're figuring out. I wish the GM was in place. I'm sure they're having these conversations. They have to be. But I wish the GM was involved. You think that would be kind of a good thing at some point, or you're just going to be like, hey, this is who we're going for, so you're either in or you're out. You know, let me ask, here's a question. So it's only the combine, so it's not like you got to pick anybody, but free agency starts, what, March 12th? So you pick your guy next week or this week. Combines, what, in a week? Okay, you can handle that. Are you evaluating free agency like with them, or are you doing it on your own and then they want to see what you're gonna say, you know, or you know what I mean? Like, I wonder how that whole structure will be taking place since they all have equal ground that they're standing on, it sounds like. But how are they going to do that? How's the new GM going to get involved? You know, if it's, hey, these are our guys, evaluate them, or what guys would you bring in? Or maybe it's a combination of both. You'd think it would be. But you're running out a little bit of gas here. So hopefully they get it done sooner than later. You know, and I don't, again, I said I don't care for my home. It's not that I don't care, but whatever. Let's just go. Let's just go. Let's get the GM in here. Let's get the right free agents in here. Who are you going to keep? Who are you letting go? Who are you going to extend? You know, you got some decisions to. I think that Captain Kirk's a big decision. You know, regardless of what we feel, you know, he's a definite weapon when healthy. It's just, you know, it's kind of, you know, both times he got hurt, he was like going up for the ball and came down. Granted, the guy came down on him on the shoulder. That just pops, you know, those little bones break when someone lands on you. But even in the Cincinnati game, remember when I think it was his oblique or his core muscle or something got torn. Just got to be careful with that. I mean, you don't want, you know, a third year of that. That's not a good return on the investment. You know, and I know guys like him. That's going to be an interesting decision. I don't think there's any decision to be made on Ingram staying. I think you keep him at all costs. You need him. I think you need to use him more down the field. I mean, he's got all the athletic ability in the world to take over a game. And not 7-yard catches. You know what I mean? I'm talking 12, 15, 8, 10. I think you can feed him. And look, the pass to the tight end is typically the easiest, right? In between the numbers, right in front of him. You can tell, you can see the safety over the top, or maybe he's not there, or when you're going to fit it in, how you get it over the linebacker, the safety, hands on a seam route, So I think he's going to not, there's no issue there. I just want a big, beefy offensive line that's going to move people out of the way and protect my QB. And I want a defensive line that just freaking wreaks havoc, against the run, against the pass all day long. They are just a problem for the opposing team. You see what happens when they are. The great Patrick Mahomes, think about it. Like, how rattled was he in the Super Bowl 59? Ridiculously rattled.
And they kept doing all those segments on, like, during the broadcast for multiple playoff games in the Super Bowl, like, the average weight of Philly's offensive line and how big they are.
Yep.
They're huge, dude.
They are massive.
Their average weight is close to 350.
Yeah.
Like, they're large human beings.
I was reading where the Jordan Mailata, the left tackle, the Samoan, like, barely played football. And, like, at 6'8", 3 whatever, he ran a 5 flat 40.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine that big son of a bitch coming after
Oh, no.
Like, no, I didn't say that. I didn't mean that. I was just kidding. No, but yeah, but a guy like that you just don't have to worry about that position. I'm not saying he doesn't get beat, but most times out of not, they're just locking it down, right? We haven't had that in a long time, We haven't. Even Cam wasn't that. Cam was good at times, but he wasn't good at times. He wasn't consistently a really good left tackle.
Cam Robinson was one of, if not the main reasons they lost that Browns game.
Yeah.
The second game of the year.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett was murdering him.
Yep.
And Myles Garrett is probably the best edge rusher in the sport.
He is.
So I get it. Like, he's going to get his. But, I mean, it was like every play.
Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't do anything.
Cam's good. He's just not great. And I think it's time. If you're gonna have this great QB, you better have a great line to protect him, because we all need it. They all need it. You saw Stroud struggle this year. What do you think the Texans are doing this offseason? They're going to beef up their old line. They got all the weapons. They got the running back. They got the QB. They believe they need an O-line. You can't function You can't function when your QB is being harassed all game long. The Bears, same deal. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to upgrade that offensive line because Caleb got sacked 68 times. I mean, you can't survive. You can't survive. Dale says Graham gives him Taven Bryan vibes. I get it. I because they're both white. I don't know. I think this kid's a lot quicker than Taven is. Now, Taven's a freak of nature, strong, big, bullish type guy. This guy's really quick with his hands, his feet, and his hips, and doesn't lumber like Taven Bryan.
Can I tell you why they're different?
Yeah.
The biggest reason?
Tell me.
Mason Graham was good in college.
Yeah. Good point.
Mason Graham was
Taven was a workout, although Taven's still playing, so he's got value. He's just not a stud defensive lineman.
Taven was in college the same time I was. I watched Taven in person all the time at Florida.
Yeah.
There was never one game where it was like Taven Bryan's taking over this game. That never happened.
Yeah.
I knew who he was because I watched, and he would make a play every, but there was never one game in his Florida career was it like he's just taking over the ballgame.
Is a freak of nature. That's why he got drafted.
Did you watch the college football playoff? Did you watch Ohio State? They absolutely murdered everyone they played.
Right.
They played Michigan.
Right.
They couldn't do anything on him.
No, I know.
Like this guy was one of the most productive defensive linemen in college football.
Yep.
If you're not a huge fan because of whatever reason, that's fine. But to call him Taven Bryan is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
I know just from watching him the way he moves way better than Taven Bryan.
But he's not even close, dude.
Way better.
And
I
again,
think he would be great.
He was good.
Yeah. No, right.
What are we doing?
Right. Absolutely. News around the NFL, more accusers for Justin Tucker. Did you see that? 7 more. This happened from 2012 to 2016. Got to take action, if it's all true. He's still denying it. The lawyers are denying it. I know they had one of the spas where he was allegedly banned from. They denied that. They're saying that he's never been a problem. Who knows what that means? But I think they're up to 18, 12, 15 women. Massage. Guys, do you not – hopefully from here on out, between Deshaun and this guy, you don't – the whole massage game, whatever it is, like, maybe not do that. It's so stupid. It's just so stupid. It's just whatever. You know what it is? It's ego. It is. It's thinking you can do whatever you want because you're a football player. It's just so dumb. But nonetheless, and I mentioned already, I saw an article about the Bengals, them trying to keep those three main guys, T. Higgins being one of them. Look, he's probably going to get tagged, and I know people don't like that, but that's why it's there. Protect those teams. Remember, Donovan Darius got tagged 3 years in a row. 3. Now, it's all guaranteed money, but still.
And it's really good money while you're getting it.
Yeah, really good money, top of your position. Speaking of safety, Javon Holland intrigues me out of Miami. I mean, are you ready? You would move on from Cisco, though. Right? He would be out if you brought in a guy. He's only 25 years of age, one of the top safeties out there, free agent, going to command a lot of money. Or do you sit there and take another shot at Andre Cisco and maybe get him to drop a few pounds? I thought he as well. His reaction times were really slow this year. I'm not the fastest guy, don't get me wrong, but watching him from 2 years ago to last year, and he came in big. We remember when he showed up on the field. You're like, big guy. You get big quick. There's no doubt. But I think do you make another? I think Antonio Johnson's got enough athletic ability to be really good. Can they coach him up to be a really good safety? But would you go that route? For your secondary, instead of waiting in the draft to grab a safety. Could be. That's not, hey, look, we got to solidify that position. We got to solidify corner, safety, edge, and DT. Right? Got to, man. We don't do that. It's not going to be pretty. And you got the free agent and you got the draft. So hopefully we can come through with that. Hassan Reddick's name's interesting to me. I wanted him a couple years ago. Big problems with his contract last year with the Eagles, but that guy could be a off-the-bench pass rusher. We need one. We definitely need one. Whether you're going to get him in the draft, we don't have him on the roster. It's not Cole. It's not Abdullah.
No.
It's not any of those guys. We're done with them.
If it's them again, I'm going to be real upset, man.
No, they're not it. They're not it. They don't do it enough. Going up to the guy and just grabbing him and wrestling.
With all due respect, these are practice squad guys. These are camp bodies.
Maybe special teams.
Teams.
I mean, there's not a bad way to
and that's fine.
Make a living.
Not bad at all.
Mm-hmm.
But if the minute Trayvon Walker or Josh Hines Allen need a blow and I got to watch Miles Cole again in an important game, that's a problem.
I agree.
That's a problem.
100%. We talked about the backups being upgraded along with...
Especially when Nielsen wanted to play them 35% of the time.
So what do you think about an edge coming off the bench? I mean, Mac's going to be a lot of money, but, man, that would be fantastic. Fowler's, I don't want to call him a poor man's Mac because he had 10.5 sacks last year, but would you bring him back at the right price? Hassan Reddick's another guy.
Whether it's Dante Fowler Jr. or someone else, he is the like profile of who I'm thinking of.
He brings attitude, that guy.
Yes, correct. And that's what I mean. Like, he brings attitude, veteran, has done it before, and probably won't be super, super expensive.
And sounds like we all do, grew up a little bit, because I don't think Dan Quinn would have brought him from Dallas to Washington if he didn't feel like he could count on him.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? So there's got to be something there. I know the way he ended it here wasn't pretty, but who cares? I mean, if he brings value to our team and can get to the QB, we need that. There I go, cleaning the damn glasses again. But we need that. How about Morig, the safety out of the Raiders? He'll probably be up there with Javon Holland. as far as pricing, but he's a big-time safety, Or are you going to roll? Are you rolling with Cisco?
Yeah, probably.
I know a lot of people are like, no, I want him. I'm done with him. But
I'm not
I don't know
crazy.
if I'm done with him.
I'm not.
He's got so much talent.
I agree. I think there's meat on that bone that you can get to if you just get him to shed a little weight, get some better coaching on him, perhaps.
Yeah.
But my thing is, if this roster was better built out in other areas, then maybe.
Yeah.
My thing is, I feel like there are other positions that are in more dire need of upgrades.
Okay.
And between the draft, they're going to have some money to spend, but between the draft and free agency, like, you do have a finite amount of resources at some point. You can't change every single starter you don't like.
Right.
And like, I think that's important because this happens every year,
but
right?
You can. Sorry to interrupt you, but I've got 7 positions written down. You can change all 7 with free agency in the draft.
You can, but can you do that
successfully?
Can you do that with what you would consider a premier replacement?
2017, they kind of did. Remember, they came in with, well, let's see, they had Calais, Church in the backfield. There was another
Boye at corner.
So there was 3 that really changed that defense. So you could, you get the right guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Safety's on the list, but I agree. I'm not putting safety up that high. The opposite corner is somebody for sure. We gotta get.
And that's kind of what I mean.
I like Buster. I think he tried his ass off, but I think you need a.
But you can't go into the season
corner
with Buster Brown
I agree.
Or Darby.
No, definitely not. I think Darby's kind of. I don't know what I'd probably release him.
I would too.
Know. In their defense, if I may, the rush wasn't there all year. It just wasn't. But their coverage, there was too many blown. I don't even want to get into it. It's too much. We know what the deal was. So corner before safety. I got safety ahead of wide receiver. I think we got enough targets for Trevor. I do. I mean, and you bring in another Brian Thomas Jr. How are you going to spread it all around? Like, he's our guy, right? I don't know. I would put wide receiver down the list a little bit.
I would too, man.
I don't need another. I need protection, and I need a defense that's not going to give up leads like they did all last year.
We were talking a little bit before we went live about like stuff we see online and stuff that we're just kind of sick of. One thing that I'm insanely sick of, if I see one more clip of insert whatever wide receiver in the draft, then it's just his highlight reel, and it's if the Jags don't get him, what it's like, bro. First of all, you can do that about every single wide receiver that's going to get drafted. Okay, you can put together a highlight tape and make him look like the best receiver college football has ever seen. You can do it with literally every single one.
Yeah.
Secondly, I agree with you. There's one football to go around, and you have Travis Etienne in the backfield, who we all think is going to play better in this new scheme. Brian Thomas Jr., who's a clear alpha wide receiver. Maybe if Christian Kirk's back. Evan Ingram, Parker Washington. Like, there are weapons on this team. They need offensive linemen.
Well,
I don't care about another receiver opposite Brian Thomas Jr. if Trevor Lawrence is on his ass.
Well, here's a simple question. How do you make Trevor better? Another weapon or better protection?
Better protection, in my opinion.
Same. Because you still got to work on him and his accuracy. It's got to be better. So adding another wide receiver to me doesn't do that. Adding protection that gets him more comfortable, to not have to worry about people in his face, not to have to worry about hurrying his throws, not have to throw off the back foot like he does so often. I'd rather have strong protection up front. And then you got enough wide receivers right now. You do. Would you add one? Sure, I'm going to add one, but I'm not. I don't know. Now Godwin. I mean, if you got the money, you can fit it all in. You can fit everybody else in that you need. I'm okay with that. He's coming off an injury though too, so that's always a concern. But to me, again, I'm going beef up front. Give me some beef. Get some badass dudes that are just ready to rock and roll, and they're big and strong enough to handle the workload.
If Brian Thomas Jr. didn't exist, I think this would be a different conversation.
Oh, of course.
But I think,
without a doubt, yeah.
But when you consider the fact that I would consider these other guys, the non-Brian Thomas Juniors, the Evan Ingrams, even the Brenton Strange, Parker Washington, Kirk if he's back, which I think he's going to be back personally. You got to give Gabe Davis another chance contractually. You can't get out of his contract. The two guys in the backfield, like, when you mix all that in with a true alpha dog wide receiver one that BTJ clearly is, that's a really good supplementary cast, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, you throw in, like you said, you throw in Ingram. You got Strange. You got the two backs, especially ETN out of the backfield. Maybe Davis pops up, and you got Parker.
I don't know that Gabe Davis is ever going to be some, like, great receiver.
He's just got to be a possession type, red zone type receiver.
I have to believe there's more in
touchdowns.
I have to believe there's more in him than what I saw this year.
Without a doubt.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, he didn't. And he didn't seem to give a crap. That's what really bothered me.
I agree.
But I think that was across the board. I don't think there was a whole lot of fire in that locker room to better things on the field. Hey, make sure you check out Team Tommy Mac at TommyMac.net. That is my webpage. You'll see this show. We're actually moving the Horse's Mouth show back onto the webpage. You'll also see all of Team Tommy Mac there and all their great logos. Just click on the logo. It'll take you right to their respective websites. They are absolutely fantastic. Always there when you need them. You know what's really cool, too, is when one of them calls me for the other service and then I connect them. It's absolutely great. It's a big family, and I love endorsing every single one of them. Carpet Man Flooring, of course, Chris Lucero's Bail Bonds, Morgan & Morgan if you get injured, J-Dog Junk Removal, and Hauling, Azar Sausage, Fields Cadillac, Code Ninjas, Salt Air Inn and Suites, Newmark Phoenix Realty Group, Freedom Finance, and Family Tradition Specialty Foods. All right, you got a GM you want, Grammage? Who do you want as we wrap up the show? I'll tell you, I'll go first, if I may. I don't care. If it's Ian Cunningham, great. If it's Ethan Waugh, fine. I know, and it's funny, I'm talking to people out and about in Publix. I love talking to everybody in Publix. I'm always in there, and I enjoy the conversations. And, people are worried that because Waugh came from San Fran and that Balky was in San Fran, that he's got some Balky in him. I don't know if he does, but I am going to say that I feel fairly confident, even though he hasn't really done it before, that Tony will keep that all in check. Tony Baselli, that is, will keep that in check, if you know what I mean. There will be no backstabbing from the GM if that, in fact, was taking place. There'll be no toxicity inside the front office because that's what Tony is there for, to make sure that crap is gone and we're not going to have it. So if it's Waugh, whatever. Just make sure it's right. They're all first-timers. Y'all got a lot on your plate, and we're all pulling for you. And hopefully these are all the right decisions going with the inexperience. Who do you like?
Ian Cunningham, I would say, would probably be my number one, but I agree with you that I'm not going to get Superman out of shape regardless of who they take, except I would be very upset if they promoted Ethan Waugh. I don't want them to do that.
Okay.
And
I think he's going to have a role somewhere.
Which is fine, but I don't want him to be the GM.
Okay.
And I think
you don't even have final say though. So does it matter?
Yes, I think it still matters because I think your GM, even if they may not have that final say, I think the GM still dictates, especially how you draft. How much do you value need over best player available? How do you mix and match that? What does your board actually look like?
Right.
Traits like, would Mason Graham be attractive to that type of GM? Or like all those conversations, I think
they don't have the power that Balky, whoever it is, will not have that power.
Right, but those conversations that you have before the draft dictate a lot of what does end up being decided.
The short arm syndrome, right? Because that was Balky's thing. And I'm envisioning Baselli going, shut up, that don't matter. We're going with it.
Yeah,
not shut up, but hey, what's an inch? What's a quarter inch? Whatever. It don't matter. Look at the way the kid plays. He can play. That's what we're going with. You know what I mean? So I don't feel like Waugh or anybody's really, which is kind of the holdup. They're trying to figure out, like, it's just, where do you fit in as a GM if I don't have the say?
Yeah.
Where do I fit in? Okay, it's a collective. Okay. Well, you got to find the right collective person that's okay with that.
And I just
not have that authority. Sorry.
It's I think more than anything, like, I agree with you. I think all the drama BS stuff of going behind people's back, I agree with you. I'm not worried about that with Ethan Waugh. That's not really my concern. It's more so I do agree that I think probably Ethan Waugh probably aligns with Trent Baalke, generally speaking, on how to draft, on how to sign guys, and that type of thing.
Okay.
And I believe that while you are getting new blood as a coach, you're getting a new EVP, you're getting all this newness, that the GM needs to also be a symbol of something fresh, something new, new ideas, new ways to attack things.
I think that's fair.
And even if Ethan Waugh, like, it's nothing against Ethan Waugh personally.
Right.
It's more so all of the leadership needs to be new faces that are not attached to the old garden anyway.
It's all new. It would be all new except him.
Right.
And that in the front office aspect.
And it needs to be 100% all new, in my opinion. And
what about Josh Williams, who comes from San Fran? Now he's got a resume too, like football operations.
And that's
director.
an entirely different San Fran regime as well. So
that's under John Lynch.
Right. So
that there's no concern.
Right.
I get that. I tell you, I mean, like, my gut still says Waugh just because it's taken forever, and I do think it's challenging to find that right GM, that's going to be like, okay, I can work under this structure. I don't think everybody would. I mean, you think about, like, I don't know, there'd be some agents out there be like, man, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, that's not a real – I know everyone says it's this coveted GM job, but if you don't have the say and you didn't even bring in the coach, so how does that work? Like, what if the coach fails? Do I fail too? Or am I free? You know what I'm saying? Like, think about that. Like, am I connected? You want me to come in as a collective? Great. But what if he doesn't work out for whatever reason? Whatever. What happens to me? Am I gone too? I didn't pick him. You picked him. So I don't want to be responsible for that. I also don't want to be responsible if the quarterback somehow doesn't work out. So I didn't pick him either. So it's going to be interesting. Look, I'm all for it. Whoever they bring in, I'm all for it. But I think that's why it's been somewhat challenging, because how do you fit this person into this three-headed monster that goes filtered up to the owner? We'll see how it plays out, man. We all hope for the best. No doubt about it. It's going to be exciting with free agency starting, with the combine. Get to look at these guys moving, man. And look, that's one of my favorite parts of the combine, man. Seeing them move in open space and seeing how fluid and quick they truly, truly are. And I'll tell you what, if this Mason Graham is anywhere near the kind of player that Braden Fisk is at his size, it's a no-brainer to me. I mean, it's a no freaking brainer to me. That'll do it for us this time around here on Catching Up with Tommy Mac, brought to you by Team Tommy Mac. Thanks so much for all their great support. Thanks to all of you for watching, listening, and commenting. I tried to do my best to comment back and reply. Appreciate all the support and all the love. And until next time, y'all stay safe and be cool, and stay safe. And we'll catch you right next time on Catching Up with Tommy Mac. Peace and love, everybody. Have a great day.